Okay, great. So we're recording now. So before we get started with everything, can we get everyone's agreement that we can share this video publicly with a thumbs up? Awesome. Thank you, guys. Wow, I just have to start by, thanking you guys for all that you've been up to, all the teams have been up to. It's been really great for me to feel like I kind of just like leave it all in your hands and everything's getting managed. So I really, really honor and appreciate that. It's been really, gratifying for me to kind of be in that space. Let me definitely give you guys applause. And yes, everybody give everybody some applause because that's really amazing. It's been definitely, an evolution. You guys are really taking it to another level as an executive team, managing all the teams. So I'm just really present to that. Just want to, take a moment to let you guys know that and thank you guys for that. And it's awesome. And it's awesome. And so, it's exciting times, as you guys know, for a lot of different reasons. We're going to spend some time tonight, continuing to process what we started on Thursday in terms of like the shifting of the project. And, I've made some more distinctions that we'll talk about tonight in terms of, really making the distinction between the framework, like we talked about, and then the projects or the content. And so again, we'll get into those things more towards the end after we go through all the teams and everything. But now that I think about it, it seems like maybe we need to talk about the teams within the context of all of that. So we should probably talk about all that stuff first and then get into teams. What do you guys think? Then we can, because part of what we're going to do tonight is really like brainstorm, like, okay, and now what do we do with the teams? Like we said the other night, because I think you guys tell me, but I think it's time from tomorrow, I think will be our last combined team meeting. And then I think for the rest of the semester, it'll be separate research and outreach and production teams. Because I think, now we need to each focus on our own separate area to do the wrap up and the grand showcase and all the stuff that we're going to do to kind of wrap everything up. So I think tomorrow be our last combine, and then we'll already, thank you, Maria, for texting Mariana. Oh, I forgot to ask, is somebody taking minutes? Can't believe I always forget. You're taking minutes, Cassidy. Thank you so much. Okay, great. And have your screens on gallery. Okay, so yeah, so in terms of the shifting of the teams, let's look at the agenda and let me see which parts to focus on first. Okay, so okay, so let's just start with the reorientation of the project, and then we'll see where we go. Hey, Tatiana, how are you? Great to see you. Yeah, can we get a agreement that we can share the video publicly with a thumbs up? Awesome, thank you. Got you, thanks. Okay, great, so let's, okay, so let me talk about, again, what we started to get into on Thursday, and I've gone a little bit deeper into it now, is that we have the framework within which these solutions are being developed, right? And we've talked about, the whole structure of the framework. So again, and actually I'll show you how I've written it out in words now. Hold on one second. Oh yeah, I meant to put this into the minutes anyway, so let me do that while I'm doing this. Okay. So let's put it if we can. clean it up later, but I think you'll be able to follow. So we have the issues on the top level, and these are, we primarily talk about these global issues, right? Like COVID vaccines and climate and health equity and pollution and all of that. So those are the issues that we're addressing, and it can scale down to local neighborhood issues or any issues. It can address any issues, but we're choosing to address these global issues. And the experts, are the ones that come in as the issue experts, whatever that issue is that they are expert in. And they're helping us to determine, what best practices are around that issue, what solutions at scale look like. I mean, these are the types of things that we're tapping into their expertise for, right? In terms of setting up a model to come up with a solution, right? Then we bring in the solutions and strategy experts. Let's look at it on here. I think it's easier to see for now. So the issue experts, best practices, solutions at scale, solutions and strategy experts. So the solutions and strategy experts are the experts that are helping to establish the strategies across all issues, right? So we really need a lot of them, actually. There's gonna be an explosion in demand of solutions and strategy experts going forward, because they're the ones that are gonna be working with all these different issues to come up with these solutions, and to have defined prospective, collective, strategic solutions, right? That's essentially what they're creating. So let's say that they're creating like 10 prospective, collective, strategic solutions as like 10 options available to all of the stakeholders. And then the nano, well, let me go back up here actually and say, the pool of pledged resources actually needs to come in first, because, and these are the pledged resources. So let's just move this around. Take this out. So it's when all of these entities show up and say, I want to devote my time, my money, my relationships, whatever it is, and they pledge that into, let's just say, health equity as an example, okay? And so let's say that they're all pledged in, for $10 million and, 10,000 hours of effort or something like that. And then it's the experts that can then say, okay, well, with those kinds of resources, having studied it for 20 years, we should do this. Like, these are the things that should be done. These are the solutions at scale. Then the strategy experts help define these collective strategic solutions. And then essentially, like, the nano action experts are the ones that are breaking it down into the projects and the actions and the sub actions into nano actions, so that essentially, the work can be done by a mass workforce, essentially, right? And so it's this framework, and there's other parts to it, but you guys get the, systematic flow that will happen over and over again for all of these different types of issues, right? And so again, when we have it all in a software platform, step one, step two, here's it's all just like an interface to a dashboard that lets you manage it all and create your projects and all of that sort of stuff at that point, right? So really what we're doing now, we have two different things going on in terms of student participation and opportunities for internships and that sort of thing. The first thing is to focus on the building of this infrastructure, in terms of essentially the work that our teams have been doing. So having production and research, I think, like programming and other things. Now, what we're really going to need to focus on with, a lot of this is actually what needs to be done, like the solutions and the strategies, the collective strategic solutions. Like, we actually have to start recruiting a lot of students that can develop collective strategic solutions, and they want to interview experts and work with experts that are developing collective strategic solutions, right? So it's essentially like we now are kind of like digging through all the pieces here to figure out, what types of people we need to execute, each part of the process. And then, that's both our recruiting from a student perspective as well as our engaging from an expert perspective, essentially. And you see the kind of the parallel there. And again, it's because, students that are studying, this topic, of course, are going to want to connect with experts that are expert in that same topic. So essentially, we have this process of creating the structure, creating the framework, but then we have the using of the system by students that want to, study anything, connect with experts, connect with universities, connect with health systems, connect with public health departments, whatever it might be. We're kind of getting in the mode where it's like you can design your own, practicum, experience, internship, capstone, as long as what you're doing as you are modeling it, essentially, you're using the framework that we have to be another example of, creating a model, a use model, essentially, a use case scenario. Then those students are, also, again, coming into the meetings to help, refine the framework based on how well they're implementing it and the challenges that they're having and, what they're learning. So again, and this process, as you can see, kind of propagates out because at some point, there will be students and others that are using the system that aren't sitting on the teams. But, and it's possible, this is where I want to kind of talk through it with you guys and everything, because I can see it being possible to have students that are not sitting on our teams, but just using the system and using the system to create a project and define a project and work with others in their community and, connect with experts and connect with systems and connect the dots, basically. It could be a one-person show that's doing the whole thing over the period of, a whole year or 6 months or something like that. Or it could be, them in conjunction with 4 other students or 10 other people around the country or whatever it looks like. And that's kind of what we're starting to create is, giving students the opportunity, if they want, to just dive in solo and be able to use the tools and create whatever outcome they're looking for as a practicum experience. Or as there's a channel there and they're helping to establish a channel and others are showing up at that channel, then these multiple students and multiple stakeholders can find each other and start to work together, right? And that's really the idea. And the idea, again, is if you're a student that's interested in maternal health and you have others in your own program that are interested in that, you can gather up some of your friends and classmates and enroll them in working with you on this project, right? Or other people around the country or whatever. That's part of it too, is actually to kind of give people that are coming into the project the tools in hand to recruit the people around them to build their own project with others that could do this as an internship with them and that sort of thing. So these are all kinds of the different things that I'm thinking about and want to talk through with you guys, because I hope I'm clearly communicating, because it's still getting clear in my mind. It's not totally clear, but it's almost clear, that the distinction between the framework, that just allows all of these solutions and all these projects to, be executed with a an online platform that facilitates it all, versus, again, taking on a project where, like we talked about, take a quick drink. Like we talked about on Thursday, I think that I think we did a really amazing job demonstrating, a great project using a lot of these different systems and everything with the vaccine considerations project. I can't think of a better way we could have done it this year. And, for the reasons we talked about, I'm even more clear that Uniting for Action now has to stop, doing sample projects and let everybody else show up to do the projects, and then, just support in the team meetings to help with the execution and that sort of thing. Like you guys said, and this is something I'm going to keep thinking through, but it's not, going to happen in the next couple of weeks, is, potentially having a parallel nonprofit that is more of like, special projects are taken up within that nonprofit and executed like a normal nonprofit, would do. So, I need to keep thinking through that, because like I shared with you guys, there's lots of things that I'm passionate about that I want to see these tools applied to. So I have to think about how I can, use the system myself, because I'm getting more and more clear that while I want to use the system, I can't do it, within the project, because then it's kind of skewing the project. You guys see what I'm saying in terms of the framework. So, okay. So having said that, what are your guys' thoughts in terms of, both the way I'm dividing it and describing it, and the ways you see opportunities, for others in terms of practicums, and like what you would have thought if this is the way that was set up when you showed up for your practicum originally? That's probably a good first place to start, is, how it lands for you guys and what you think about it.
I'll say something. I think it'd be really interesting. I like your point regarding, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, regarding like, especially when you first roll it out, like students almost being within and without the project so that they can provide feedback on using the framework. I think that's a really smart sort of transition tool. If I were coming into the project and this was presented to me, I may just be slightly confused. So I think that we would just need to find a way to communicate and package it for students so that they sort of understand that it's almost like it's a transition period and where they'd be needed most. So I think as long as we communicated clearly sort of what the expectations were and what we needed, that it could be really a really good sort of, like I said, transition. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
It's a transition.
And what do you mean by that when you say transition, so I can understand clearly?
Just sort of how we were talking about moving away from vaccine considerations project and more so to the framework and the teams, building up the framework, and then also students utilizing the framework, because we haven't done that before. So that's what I mean by transition.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I agree. And that's where I want to get that communication really clear, really quick, because as you know, we want to be reaching out to students this week, in recruitment. I know, it's an urgency. So I know we'll spend time on it in recruitment tonight in terms of breaking it down and figuring out, how to communicate and who to communicate to and all of that. So for sure. And that's where also, I'm, I really want to have you guys take the lead on that, because I'm not sure that I'm going to communicate it, most clearly. We'll see. We'll see how you guys can communicate. But okay, that's good. Thank you for that feedback, Cassidy. I really appreciate it. Who else would like to share, thoughts about all of it?
I think that
I want to see. Yeah, go ahead, Tatiana. Thank you.
No, I was just gonna. I think that I might be a little confused, but I was just curious as to like if we have a lot of different like I guess climate change, for example, if that was like one theme, and then there were like a lot of different students who kind of have different ideas towards it, how would they go about creating one big project about it? If that makes sense.
Yeah, so what you're describing is really where there's a lot of work to be done in terms of a system that filters ideas from the bottom up, basically. Because what you're talking about essentially is a system that allows anybody, bless you, to put an idea into the system, and then that idea can rise like based on its merit alone, where, you know, people liking it and sharing it and that sort of thing will allow it to, you know, become more and more seen, so to speak, and give the opportunity for it to be more and more supported. And that's where, again, in the end, so to speak, when you get to the point that you're ready to like, at least, you know, this is the way I see it in my mind. And part of what I want to share with you and share with everybody is that what I'm describing right now is just one perspective solution. It's not that this will be the way it's going to be done, because by the time we actually get it done, we're going to have a lot more experts, you know, putting in their, you know, expertise about how we could do it and should do it. And, you know, we'll go through a lot of input around everything by the time we're actually executing this. But if you had to ask me for a potential solution that I could offer today that would manage that, it's where, again, based on likes, shares, what have you, it becomes more and more popular. Also based on who likes it and who shares it, because if somebody has like a very high reputation, like they're associated with a very reputable institution, or, you know, whatever gives you a big reputation score, then, you know, even though Tatiana wrote it, you know, because this, you know, renowned professor liked it, now, you know, it gets the extra bonus points essentially, right? And so it can be to where, oh, once he liked it, then his colleagues started liking it, and now they started liking it enough that they actually want to start to make that one of the top 10 solutions that they're going to develop with the strategic experts. So essentially, it's kind of like what happens naturally in our society in terms of filtering of ideas. But what we're doing is we're systematizing it so that it can happen much more rapidly and much more in an automated way. Like it happens very like organically, virally in our world right now, because we don't have like closed systems that manage all of this, you know, completely. So, you know, with this closed system that has all the scoring and all the cross-referencing and all of that, now you can essentially accelerate in time an evolutionary process of considering ideas and vetting ideas. And you can use your distributed resources across a crowd, especially when you have like highly trained people that are trained in like vetting things. Then you can have kind of like this filter up thing, because you've got like potentially thousands of people across the country that are doing this nano action of considering all of these different ideas and grouping them all and categorizing them and putting all the differences between them and putting them up on a matrix. And here's all the features of this one, and here's all the features of this one. And you see how, you know, what I'm describing are things that happen in our society right now in different places, but not like all together around this and just concentrated hyper evolution is kind of the best way to put it, right? It's like, if we can't afford to wait around for just an organic process, like how can we program this to go through a couple years of organic evolution in a couple weeks, right? So I don't have all the answers for that. I can visualize it in my head in the ways I described it to you. But now that I've put that idea out there sufficiently on video, now people that understand the processes and the algorithms much more deeply than I do can show up, because a friend of theirs watched this and then said, oh, my friend can really help them. I'm going to send it to him. He gets it. He contacts us. He said, hey, I watched this video on this date, and like, I could really help you guys. And this is exactly, you know, how it becomes a reality in our world. right? So to get back, to your original, question in terms of like, how do ideas get considered and that sort of thing? Like there's all kinds of ways that it can happen, but what I just described to you is one example that accelerates time and accelerates evolution for us by taking advantage of technology, essentially, right? So we know, like I said before, we know that we've got that as a baseline worst case scenario, because now people can show up and start improving upon what I just shared. But it's really just a matter of us figuring out all of these best ways to deal with everything. And really the people that know the best ways are the experts that have been doing it over and over again, in their closed little circles, right? Now it's time for them to come together with the builders and the resources and put all of that out into the world. So I know that was a mouthful, maybe an over answer, but I wanted to, really go into some of the details of that so you guys can understand like how all of this gets built out and programmed, into existence over time. So did that answer your question, Tatiana? I sure hope so.
Yes, it did.
Okay, great. Any other questions or comments from you or Katie? I'd also like to hear your thoughts as well around, part of it is like, I'm imagining like what Katie did around her presentation with the FDA, where she chose the topic and did some quick research and then went ahead and put together a presentation, all that sort of thing. Like, again, all things like that can be the models in here. And I anticipate doing that, putting it together and packaging it as a model of what anybody could do, showing up and using the system essentially, right? Now that Katie and others have modeled it and we have these like tutorial videos, somebody can watch for 5 minutes. How did Katie put this together? Now, okay, I'm going to go ahead and put something together. And you guys getting what I'm saying in terms of the ways the system can be used. So let me hear from a couple more of you, at least Katie.
Yeah, I think that could be very interesting for potential students. Kind of a choose your own adventure style internship, I think could be very appealing, especially if they have, nuanced interests. Yeah, like for me, the main pull of the vaccine considerations were vaccines, because that's one of my favorite topics. So having that added, like, you can do what you want kind of within reason. I think that'll be very appealing as long as, boundaries are set and there's clear expectations.
Yeah, it's really great that you're saying that, because that's again where right now it's essentially our job as a team, which is why I want to spend this time and the executive team sorting this out. It's our job as a team now to, package and share what we're describing in words on the website and in videos and in job postings and in flyers and in meetings with career services offices, and all of these things is where we're taking exactly what you just said. It's a great build your own practicum opportunity. Then how do we turn that into a job posting? We're obviously going to have that meeting next, but just in general for you guys, how do we communicate it all clearly, and well? And I think that that's where, again, we have a few more weeks here with the team, and that's where I want to also tonight look at our schedule and all of that. But I think, well, and then we've talked about it enough, but I think the takeaway from this is for us to keep figuring out tonight, as we continue with the rest of the meeting, exactly what we're going to do in each of the teams to be able to kind of get that message across in a way that we're bringing in students, we're attracting attention, we're having all of the energy around the project that we want, because we're clearly communicating it and people are excited about it. So I think it's going to be all the teams that are going to be involved in that in one way or another. And so we'll circle back in, as we go through the team reports. but I think we can probably move on. Is there anything, Maria, that you wanted to say about it?
I wanted to add that I think that is really interesting. Like if you like incorporate many concepts into the project, you would actually get more people, like more people would be interested on the project. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing is that, thank you for saying that. You know, there's still such a public health opportunity. So I think there's a lot of room for public health students in this project, but also there's a lot of room for all kinds of students, you know, in the project that have any interest in anything really, you know, to be able to use the systems to be able to connect with experts and do what they want with those experts, essentially, because they're simultaneously helping us build out the platform as they're making the connections, right? So that's kind of the big win-win. And maybe that's something for us to focus on in the recruitment team meeting, Cassidy, as we're kind of talking through it, is the win-win. Let me make a quick note of that myself. Okay, great. Okay, anything else that any of you want to say about that for right now? Nope. Okay, great. Okay, let's just want to check no message from Mariana, so hope everything's okay with her. Let's go ahead and get into the rest of the agenda. Okay, so let's go, and I'll clean up the framework later to look better. So let's go into the weekly recap. So let's start with Cassidy. Thank you, Cassidy.
So with the recruitment team, like Jared said, one thing that obviously we've been working on consistently is the HubSpot migration, which we've finished, and now we're actually contacting career service offices. So we're gonna catch up today. I know, yes, it's very exciting. We sent all the rest of our emails by last Friday. So a bunch of emails out. So we'll touch base tonight in our meeting to see how much feedback that we've gotten or correspondence from those career services offices. So that's been exciting. And then I think the bulk of our meeting tonight that we'll talk about later is getting these job postings. We sort of worked on cleaning some up last week, but it sounds like we're going to do some changes just to be more in line with what we're looking for. So I think that's going to be a big push for the recruitment team, and also just continuing to contact the career services offices and, you know, building those relationships up so that we can get a bunch more students. So, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Cassidy. That's really, really great. And we have Rebe, who's joining us tonight for the first time in the recruitment team meeting, as you guys heard. So that's really awesome. Our team is growing. Yep, yay. Or at least not shrinking. Yes, we should take a moment to acknowledge Isatu not being here. And so sad for her to have to, you know, leave the project under those circumstances. So, you know, we did thank yous and acknowledgements in the business team meeting. I think let's do a quick thank you and acknowledgement here. So thank you, Isatu, again for, you know, what you shared, what you contributed, the way that you really jumped in and were very eager to support at this level and be a part of the executive team. And even though it wasn't for a long time, we really appreciated having you here and contributing all that you did and being a great support. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. Anything else that anyone would like to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, just sort of echoing everything you said, that ICT was always willing to help and always asked really good questions and brought such a positive energy. So we will miss her very much and sad to see her go under these circumstances.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. So let's continue. So business team, Tatiana.
Yeah, sorry, my internet was just disconnecting. But for the business team so far, since we're down to one member, we've decided to kind of focus on more recruitment and job descriptions. And we did go back and look at all the things that we need to do and that we've talked about. So hopefully we'll start getting those done and push forward from there on.
Yeah, thank you, Tatiana. Cassidy, you'll see in our recruitment meeting that Tatiana created a couple of job postings for the business team, which is awesome. And we talked about, yes, definitely some claps. Thank you, Tatiana, for that. And, you know, we talked about putting the focus right now in the business team and working on recruiting people for the business team, because it is really tough to do anything with just Tatiana. You know, we really need to have some people to be able to, you know, share responsibilities and that sort of thing. So Tatiana and I decided that we'll put more hours towards recruitment this week, and she's already helped with the job posting, and we'll keep working on that and maybe reach out to some business schools, and you know, we'll talk about all of that. So yep, perfect. Thank you, Tatiana, appreciate it. So let's jump back in. And outreach, production, and research. Who wants to jump in on that? Katie.
Yeah, so we're just kind of, yeah, since this is our last week, finishing up on doing our video processing. We had an assignment where we had two teams. One was going to take the footage from last Thursday's meeting and take out the clips that would be sent to career services to show like what we're doing now, kind of talk about the framework that we were just talking about. And then the other team was taking the clips out to reach out to past members and update them on what we're doing. So that was the assignment for this week. And yeah, looking at what you put, Jared. Yeah, and then yeah, editing the ones that we already have. We also need to do that. And also figuring out how to make sure that everyone's practicum requirements are fulfilled before their end date. So.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing those. Yeah, it's really good. I want to, in terms of the practicum requirements, I know we talked about it before, and do we have like a sheet where they're all laid out, or some kind of centralized place where we can, you know, you can review them, I can review them, we can make sure that whoever needs to fulfill anything is on track? And
what?
Yeah, go ahead, Katie.
Well, I have them individually, but I can put them in one big sheet. Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe you can connect with Tatiana about it, because it's part of, again, what the business team has to be keeping track of, and the system, the you know, whole practicum system is that we've got, you know, we're on track with all the competencies, we're keeping track. It's really, I know you're doing it for your team, which is awesome. Just functionally going forward, it's a business team function to be managing all of that. So we just want to make sure even if you're getting it managed now, which we appreciate, and I'm sure Tatiana appreciates, that we structurally want to set that up where the business team is on top of it, and I can kind of review things through the business team and that sort of thing. I think well, have you guys gotten any feedback on the processing from Thursday night's video? Is there any, do you know, where people are at in the processing, and, any kind of sense of any of that?
I know for my team, I've heard from Alexis that she's going to work on it tonight. I haven't heard from Renasia yet, but I'm sure she will be.
Okay, have we been using the time tracker to estimate in advance what people are going to do for their clips and then get an actual day by day?
I set it up this morning, so people might not have put their stuff in yet.
Okay, got it. You anticipate that by tomorrow we'll have like all the metrics for that for the whole week?
I'll remind people to do it, yes.
Okay, and so, okay, yeah, that'll be great. The main thing, as we've been talking about, is really want to have all the hours add up so that we can make sure that we're being accurate in our projections, in our estimations, and what we're getting done, and that we can see what we spent the hours on and what got done. So we just need to be really on top with all of that and see, okay, we thought we were going to have 15 hours, but we actually had 10 hours. And that's why we got this done and didn't get this other part done or whatever. We have to be able to look at those things. So that's really great. Thank you, Katie, for making sure that we're on top of that. That's really important. The other thing with it is, I hope, and this is where part of why I want to kind of see the metrics around it, is really see like how long it's taking people to process these videos. Because the idea, ideally, is that like if there's an hour of video in a day, let's just say, that if it's taking people twice as long to process a video, in other words, it's taking 2 hours to process a video, that that video can actually get processed that day by somebody that has the hours available, whether it's Renasia or Mariana or whoever, that we can essentially, keep up day by day. Maybe one day it's one person, next day it's another person, but to be able to be in a rhythm where, again, I'm handing you guys a half hour, an hour of content, from me walking or shooting or whatever it's been, and then or whether it's a meeting like this, and then it's getting processed that day, and then the next day it's the next one's. You get what I'm saying? That we've got a daily flow, because right now, just to understand the process and get used to it and be able to kind of learn it and learn together, I felt like it's been fine and appropriate to kind of let it string out, so to speak, over time. But that's why I want to make sure, are we getting all of our hours for the week? Because I didn't think that it was going to take with 2 teams, whatever. We should probably look to see what our hour allocation is last week. Do you guys know offhand? I haven't looked. But it's, again, making sure that whatever our allocated hours are for last week, that we're getting close at least. Okay, so last week for research, 34 hours, production, 24 hours, outreach, 11 hours. So that's 66 hours. Wow. Is that right? Sounds like a lot of hours. That's awesome. So, do we have 66 hours of work to show, for 66 hours of allocation. And I'm not sure. I mean, that's where I want to kind of tune into you guys and let you share with me, like what we have to see in terms of output from like the time tracker and the hours and the allocation and all of that. So what you guys want to give me, just like a rough estimate or a thought, or do you want to share, do we want to go in the time tracker, or just how do we want to, like, look at our time? I mean, do you guys have a sense of how many hours out of the 66 hours have been used this week? Just rough estimates.
I think like maybe like 25 hours, I would say. We can look in the time tracker.
Yeah, you think if it's accurate. Again, if the time isn't in there yet, that's fine, and we can get it in by tomorrow. But you guys understand, what I'm saying is let's say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of what you're thinking, Maria, that, maybe it gets to 35 by tomorrow, maybe 45 by tomorrow. But still, whatever it might get to, if it's significantly less than 66, if it's, 44 instead of 66, if we're only doing 2/3 of the hours we're projecting, we need to be able to know that so we can see, is that what we're doing each week when we're projecting, or is this an anomaly, or, do we need to change how we're projecting? All of those sorts of things, right? And I know it's a little challenging that we haven't been in this mode all semester, and I think it's going to be easier next semester as the new students come in with that expectation already, which is why I'm really working with you guys to be able to get to this level of accounting and accountability, because you're going to teach it to the next semester now. And we need to start, embodying it as a team to be able to pass it along and set it as a new standard for the new semester that comes along. So again, I understand, I take responsibility for not having set, super high standard of accountability and checking and all of that sort of thing to begin with. So essentially we got into maybe some bad habits as a team because I was more lax and wasn't checking and wasn't putting in these systems, but it's been limiting what we can accomplish as a team by not having, this level of knowing and this level of tuned in, because like we've talked about in the past, we can't make promises to others if we don't know what we can do, and we can't know what we can do if we're not keeping track and being able to project and all of that. So let's, get the data together, as you're saying, Katie, by tomorrow, by the meeting, so that we can look at it in the team meeting and we can actually see, how many hours actually got used this week compared to how many were projected. And we can look at how do we need to adjust, potentially for this coming week, and what do we need to do to, really be tuned in. That's the main thing. It's just like, now let's learn how to tune in now. And then as these new people are coming on, they'll be tuned in, and we'll be able to take it to the next level next semester, which is the real important part here. So you guys get that? Is everybody on board with that, Katie? Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm just confusing myself, but by this week, do you mean the week that just finished, or do you mean the week that is upcoming?
Oh, in terms of the reporting? Yeah, so tomorrow, one, this week that's just happened in terms of the projection, the one that we were just looking at, the 66 hours from last week. Let's have, the time tracker show us, the total of how many hours actually got used, and on what days and all of that, the actual, and then compare that, the actual, to what was projected, and see if we need to start readjusting, or whether people just didn't know what else they should do. That was part of it, is that I felt like I was giving that assignment as just a portion of the assignment. And maybe that's the challenge, is like, I I need to know for each hour of video, like how many hours of processing is that for people? Is that an hour and a half? Is it 2? Is it 4? Because then I can start to break down, okay, so I know if we have 66 hours and it's, let's say, 3 hours of processing per hour of video per person, and we're putting 2 people on it, I can't do the math, but you know, I should do the math. What did I just say? So three per, and then 2, so that's 6 hours per hour of video. You know, that's time that needs to be allocated. So essentially, if we're just doing processing a video and we have 66 hours available, and we have 11 hours of video that we can produce that week that can get processed that week. So, you know, that's an example of then me knowing, okay, 11 hours of video, that's 2 hours a day for 5 days during the week. I can know if I can shoot up to 2 hours every day and it's going to get processed. You get what I'm saying? And that's where I want to be with this. And that's why, you know, I want to be able to do it every day, but what is our capacity to process every day? I won't know that until I see these metrics, and that we know that we can actually put out the number of hours that we're putting down that we can say we can do in the week. So I think the first thing for tomorrow is to have the metrics right. So how many hours, and it may be different for different people, you know, but maybe some people can process a 1 hour video in 2 hours and other people can process it in 3 hours. But we probably need to know what the processing time per person per hour is for each person on the team. So can you guys kind of sort through the numbers to get to arrive to that? And you can work with everybody, you know, on the team to figure it out. But is that reasonable to have those numbers by tomorrow night? The number of hours per person, well, per hour of video, number of processing at hours, number of hours it takes to process each hour of video, of raw video, right? And then have that number as a number per person. So Renasia has her number, and Alexis has her number, and Mariana has her number, Johnny has his number, okay? And then, again, we can look and see how many hours each person put in, you know, during the week, and then we can see and check with everybody that, you know, whatever they put in this week is going to be accurate, and we can give them that number of hours of video, and we can be assured that we'll have that amount of video processed by the end of the week, because we'll be able to count on their hours and the pace and all of that. Does that make sense? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Katie. And Maria, you're clear on that as well? Okay, great. And then we'll make sure Mariana is clear. And, you know, Cassidy and Tatiana, I know you guys, you know, aren't part of those teams, but I know you guys, you know, are figuring how we can apply this to the other teams as well. Not you, Tatiana, until we have other team members, but Cassidy, you've got some team members. So, okay, great. I appreciate that. Thank you for going into that deep dive and, you know, allowing us to really sort through this. This is going to be a big shift for the project, as we've talked about, when we have these numbers and can do all these projections and we can stick to, you know, our accountabilities and all of that. So that's awesome. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. The deep work to be able to go through that. That's awesome. Okay, great. So now, did we cover everything with the, I'm not gonna be able to find my, oh, perfect, okay, great. So do we cover everything then for outreach, production, research? Okay, great. That's what you put in there, Katie. Great. So yeah, the one thing I just threw in here just to figure out, I know we didn't talk about it last week, and I know, you know, we kind of left it where, okay, great, you gave me all the timestamps, and then I was going to put it all together. But, you know, I don't have the time to put it together now, and we need to have the production team able to edit videos. That's a fundamental function of the production team. So we need to somehow have somebody be able to take all the timestamps that you guys came up with by last Thursday for the video that we worked with, right? And to, you know, stitch it together into a video that then, you know, as soon as we can, we'll put like an intro and an outro on it, but at least let's have the cut together video right now so that we can see it, and then we can figure out, you know, do we need to add any kind of, you know, like narrative in between the cuts, or do we need to create any kind of visuals, or what do we need to do with it? But at least to be able to watch the video, you know, straight through, I think would be helpful right now. What do you guys think about that? And again, thank you, Maria and Katie, for the nods and thumbs up. And again, I know we haven't been doing it yet, where we haven't been doing the actual editing of videos and cutting them together, but we do have to do that. So we do have to figure out, you know, what tool to use for that. I think, Maria, if you want to use, oh, I forgot you were going the Adobe route, which is the Premiere Pro. Didn't you say you had Final Cut Pro as well, or no? No, okay.
I had it before, but no.
You had it before, okay, got it. So I think, all right, I think for this, it's simple enough. Let's do it in Premiere Pro because I have Adobe so I can download it. And I did it years ago, but I ended up gravitating towards Final Cut Pro. So, but let's, you know, at least it's compatible in Premiere Pro. So do you want to take on doing the editing, Maria? Or I guess actually anybody can. Katie, you were going to be getting the trial Adobe. Did you end up doing that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, that's fine, because I'm not sure we want to have you on that part anyways while you're doing the other research stuff this week. But maybe Mariana, if she wants, it's up to you, Maria. You want to take the lead in delegating it, and you can either do it yourself, or you can, you know, have Mariana do it or somebody else do it, but you'll, one way or another, you'll make sure it gets done. Okay, great. So can we say that by tomorrow night's meeting, it'll be stitched together? Is that enough time to, you got the timestamps already?
Yeah, well, we are still working on that. So I'm gonna—
not the one from this week, the one from last week that we finished the timestamps on Thursday.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, then we can have it. It's fine.
Okay, and I want to make sure we're on the same page with the one that we're talking about, the one that the whole team worked on and came up with the different timestamps, and you guys worked out in the end.
Yeah, with the final timestamps and all of that. Yeah,
Katie, are you pulling up the link that you can share it? Great, and we can put it in the agenda as well, so it's in there. Okay, perfect. So. Okay, great. Thank you, Maria, for making sure that that'll be done by tomorrow. That's great. So I think then again, tomorrow, well, let's circle back because I still want to do some brainstorming. Thanks, Katie. Let me grab it. Take a quick drink. Okay. Okay, I realize that there's still so much to cover and we're already an hour in. Let me, you mind if I start sharing real quick? Let's go through these other agenda items as quickly as we can, and then hopefully have some time for brainstorming. Is there something, by the way, specific that somebody was thinking of when they put housekeeping, or is that just added?
I just kept it in just in case.
Okay, got it. I just wanted to make sure if we weren't cutting something out if we didn't get to it. Brainstorming team. Say 10 minutes. Okay, so let's get to the brainstorming if we can, but let's go through some of these things. The Leadership Council, I think I'll talk about afterwards so that we're not necessarily spending a lot of time on that. the holidays, let's talk about that first. In particular, Veterans Day, this creeped up on me. I wasn't really thinking about it. Thanksgiving, we also have to kind of figure out. So let me pull up my calendar here and we can just kind of look at everything. So Veterans Day, Thursday. So what are you guys' thoughts in terms of our meeting and Veterans Day and yeah, what are you guys' thoughts? Kind of feel like it's probably difficult to make us have a meeting on Veterans Day, right? So what are our options? So let me bring up something that came up today. When I was talking with Rebe today about, so she's going to be on the recruitment team, and that's an hour meeting. And then there's the team meeting, and that's another, well, which to start with, let me say that she said, I can give between, 5 and 10 hours a week to the project, maybe probably, well, at least 5 right now, and then maybe 10 some weeks, something like that. And so, we started going through the meetings and said, okay, so you'll be on the recruitment team, that's an hour meeting. Then you'll have the team meeting on Thursday, that's an hour and a half, so that's 2.5. We talked about the potential for her to move into a leadership position at some point. So that's another hour and a half. So that's 4 hours of her 5 hours for the week being, taken up by meetings and then not really having any time to do stuff. So it made me realize that all of you guys are in that position, and it is a lot of time in meetings, and it's come up in the past, and I'm not sure how to really rectify it, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts, because it seems like, maybe we are having too much time in meetings and not enough time in doing the things we talk about in the meetings. What do you guys think? Do you see any ways that we can cut down meeting times or numbers of meetings or types of meetings, or what do you guys think?
I would say maybe like cutting meeting times as of just talking about the priorities, maybe like setting up, I don't know, like the activities that each person has to like do. But I think that it's also like helpful that we take like sometimes 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, because we explain like everything that we have to do in more detail. And you talk more about other things. So yeah.
That's the challenge for me, honestly, is that, yeah, I would love for today's meeting to only be an hour instead of an hour and a half, but I don't know how to compact this stuff that we've talked about and the stuff we still have to talk about, right? I mean, I'm sure that I could cut out some stuff, but it's challenging for me to get this much stuff across in an hour. It's going to be challenging to get across in an hour and a half, right? So I don't know the answer to that, but I want to keep hearing from you guys. Do you feel like maybe we don't need to have a full team meeting each week? Like maybe we could have a full team meeting every other week? Do you think that could help? And as I'm saying that, I'm wondering, do you feel like maybe the actual team meeting also could be every other week? So maybe like 1 week it would be like recruitment team meeting, and the next week it would be full team meeting, and then the following week it'd be recruitment team meeting, and the following week it would be full team meeting. So that would essentially cut those meetings in half, both of them, in terms of time commitments. What do you guys think about that?
I guess my only issue with that is that sometimes you have long tasks that will take, 2 weeks to complete it, but sometimes you have tasks that only will take a week. And then how do you assign tasks later on if you don't have a meeting to go over them?
Right. Yeah, and that's where I guess, I agree, and that's the challenge. I guess the thought is maybe there would be some time that could be used in the full team meeting to address that, kind of like we did last week, where we added, we went over it more in the combined team meeting on Tuesday, but then we had Tuesday's assignment done by Thursday. So then we made a new assignment from Thursday to Tuesday. So I don't know, because again, I'm tending towards more meetings, just that's the way I've set it up. But at the same time, I'm feeling like maybe we're not being as efficient and as effective in all the hours that we could be if here is, you know, Rebbe that's willing to give 5 hours, but she can, you know, might have 4 hours taken up by meetings. Maybe if we can cut that down to an hour and a half. Seems like out of 5 hours of available work, it probably shouldn't be more than like an hour and a half of meetings, you know, taking out and leaving 3.5 hours for work, right? So I guess I'll have to keep thinking, but what do you guys think about the idea of the alternating schedule, or maybe trying the alternating schedule? What do you guys think about that? Because again, part of it is that looks like we're going to lose our team meeting this Thursday anyways, right? So maybe this can just be the start of the test for us. So this week we have our team meetings, and then and no full team meeting. Next week we have the full team meeting, but not our individual team meetings. Actually, as I'm saying that, right now at the end of the semester, and especially with Thanksgiving in the middle, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. I think we'll have to start experimenting with that next semester. But I think that at the moment we can't afford to go 2 weeks without our normal team meetings. I think it's going to be enough of a challenge just without our full team meeting this Thursday. But you guys see any alternatives in terms of, I don't really see like scheduling it on Wednesday or Friday, really. Yeah, I don't really think that's the solution. So I think at this point, it's going to be more of just like relying more on the chat this week. And also, you know, you guys in terms of the combined team, you did a great job like using the chat, especially on that one day when it was just blowing up and everybody was doing everything. Like that was like the ideal of the chat. That's the one thing I'm thinking about with not having the combined team, is the combined team, I think, had the energy to make the chat keep going. I don't know if there's going to be the same energy just within individual teams this week. What do you guys think?
I think it depends on what you want us this week to work on, besides what you already mentioned.
Yeah, so we should probably get to that brainstorming. So we've talked about this enough. Okay, so we're not going to have a meeting on Thursday, no team meeting on Thursday this week. What do you guys think, just very quickly, what do you guys think we should do in terms of like days off around Thanksgiving? So for sure we'll have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. I think we can say we can have Wednesday off too before Thanksgiving. But I feel like if we have Monday and Tuesday off as well, that we're going to be in trouble, because I know you guys are going to start to get towards finals and everything after Thanksgiving, right? So hours are going to get cut back anyways. I feel like we need a couple days that week to kind of keep things going. What do you guys think?
I think
that works.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I was just going to say, I think as long as we keep all of our other meetings and we just don't have that full team meeting that week, that we at least can create clear expectations and stay on track.
Yeah, so, okay, good. I wasn't even looking. So that's every other week scenario anyway. So that's okay. Well, I guess it's getting imposed upon us, but it's good that it's every other week instead of 2 weeks in a row. So, okay, so we're not going to have our team meeting. So then, all right, so we'll have our regular individual team meetings on Monday and Tuesday that week, like normal. We won't have our full team meeting. Okay, and we'll say that we'll give everybody Wednesday off too. So everybody has Wednesday through Sunday off. Does that sound reasonable to everybody? Okay, cool. Glad we got that. Great. Thank you, Tatiana, for thumbs up. Okay, perfect. So holidays, alternative meeting structure we went through as well. So that's good. So Leadership Council, let me just do it quickly so we can spend more time in the brainstorming, but I'll just share, you know, some quick updates with you guys. I can't even remember now. Had I shared the Leadership Council webpage into the chat before? No? Oh, I should do that. Okay. So here, I forget when I published this, maybe Friday, is the new Leadership Council page. Oh, that's interesting. What is it on that? Oh, that was weird. Oh, it was from the Google thing that was saying that. Okay. Okay, so here's what I've been sending to the friends that I've been texting. So watch this first about the Leadership Council, and then this is a 1-minute overview of Uniting for Action. I'm not sure everybody's seen that. Maybe that's worth watching now for 1 minute. And then more about the Leadership Council, and this is the 11-minute overview of Uniting for Action. And then this is the commitment being asked in terms of what their time and finances commitment is. And then the Leadership Council expectations. And this is where it gets into, as we've talked about, the 3 different dimensions that we're, you know, asking for support, which is time, talents, and experience being one, and finances being another, and relationships being another. So now this is where it's all outlined really specifically in terms of the exact dollars and the exact hours and the exact numbers of relationships that we're asking them to provide and all of that. So definitely everybody should check this out. It's in the agenda. Let me put it in the chat. Definitely check it out and definitely provide any feedback that you want to give, because I'm right in the midst of having all of these conversations. So I had a few conversations today, and I'll have a few conversations tomorrow, and I'm going to set up conversations for the rest of the week and all next week, because basically we're working to, you guys know we were going to have the first Leadership Council meeting last Thursday, but we didn't have, like, you know, enough notice for enough people to be engaged to really have a core group. So now we have some time a week from Thursday, but I really want to have like minimum 30 Leadership Council members there. So that's still a lot of people to come together really quickly. So really would like to have 30, like 20 bare minimum is what I'd like, because again, 2 weeks from then, which includes Thanksgiving in between, so it's a challenge in between, but 2 weeks after that, December 2nd, is the first, like, I don't want to say official, because the first meeting on the 18th, the week from Thursday, is going to be like an introductory meeting. But it's a 3-month commitment that we're asking of the Leadership Council. So we're asking them to commit for all of December, all of January, and all of February. So really, like, December 2nd is the first meeting for that 3-month cycle. And so it's going to be, really the idea is to have all 50 Leadership Council members in place by that meeting, by December 2nd. So it's really just a matter of being able to, you know, have as many as we can by, you know, next week, in order to get the ball rolling and get everything going. So that's where we're at in terms of numbers. And so now, you know, you can see what I'm sending out to everybody, although I really want to update that. And I've been working on some of the communication updating and that sort of thing. Those were the 2 main things I was working on this morning, is the Leadership Council communications, and then also the framework and the, you know, breaking it down for the students and that sort of thing. So that's the numbers in terms of expectations of bringing people in. And then the types of people that I'm reaching out to are kind of, there's a lot there's a number of people that I'm reaching out to within the South Florida community, because that's where my network is most, built out, mostly in the conscious living community, which I'm approaching people to really hold the vibration for, this alternative reality. And then there's more like business people and other type of people I want to reach out to. That's almost like a second layer, and not all of them necessarily to be there next week. Next week will be more of like the friends and that sort of thing. And then beyond that will be like the outer layers of, business people and that sort of thing. More business oriented, I should say. I think that's the quick kind of catch up on that, so that we can spend more time on the brainstorming. Any questions about any of what I just shared, or any comments or anything from anybody about the Leadership Council? Okay, cool. So let's dive in and let's talk about, so what do we want each of the teams to do? If tomorrow is going to be our last combined meeting, and then each team will be given essentially an individual assignment tomorrow, right? And that's what I want to talk with you guys about. So what's the individual assignment going to look like for the research team? What's it going to look like for the production team? What's it going to look like for the outreach team? So I think, just to tell you, the one, and having said that, what we should probably do, just so we make sure that we don't, run out of time and all of that, is we should probably devote this coming week to, documenting everything and packaging everything the way that we talked about the other day, right? So that we basically have the whole, vaccine considerations project all neatly packaged and shared on the website and available for anybody to pick up and run with, like we talked about, right? And all of the examples of all the different teams on the team pages, and pulling together clips from different meetings. And again, there's so much of where we're at in the project that isn't represented on our website, and people can't know about us right now, even on social media too. So it seems like what we should really focus on right now, until we get it done. And if we get it done earlier, then, while people are still in the project, then we can focus on some other things too. But I think right now it's time to start packaging everything up and putting it out there, so that we know that we've gotten that done and it's out there. What do you guys think? You agree, Katie and Maria and Cassidy and Tatiana? You guys agree as well? Okay, so I think that kind of simplifies it, because then it puts the ball in each of your court to kind of, go over, what have we done this semester, marching back through time, maybe even, pulling up the minutes, week by week in the meeting, or somehow, creating, it could be some kind of offline task if you want to coordinate it with your team as well, but somehow, creating like a timeline of all the work that got accomplished by, your team this semester, and, going back in and, pulling the different links out of the minutes, or, bringing the minutes together, whatever it looks like, for us to then start, maybe posting some video clips and posting some minutes and posting, whatever it is that tells the story, and then links to the research and links to our, behind the scenes stuff that we were doing. Maybe we need to take some screenshots of our data entry and data organization and that sort of thing. That's going to be like the production team that's going to figure out, maybe how we need to present some things if we can't give people like full access to our interface, which we don't want to do, obviously. Or maybe we come up with some like non-editable version of it. I'm not sure, but I think that's where, each team can kind of figure out, what's the best way to package and share what they did this semester, right? What do you guys think about that? Is that specific enough with enough leeway that in each of your individual teams, we can figure out, you know, what that's going to look like and how to kind of divide that up amongst people at the combined meeting tomorrow? And then I think Cassidy, for recruitment, I think it's really more a matter of, you know, us being where we're at than packaging things up. I think it's more a matter of working, you know, what we have to work between now and the rest of the semester. I don't think it's quite as much about the packaging for your team as it is for the research and production and outreach, and even the business team, Tatiana, because we've got a lot of different evaluations we did this semester and lots of different things that we can package up and show as well. Okay. So I think then that kind of covers it, because I think then we can use the combined meeting to communicate that, and then, you know, really look through some things and maybe assign who does what. We'll just kind of be on the ground with it tomorrow in the meeting. Does that sound good to you guys, Katie and Maria? Okay, good. Okay, so is there anything else around that? Any kind of other brainstorming you guys want to do about what else should be on our plates in terms of our individual teams or the executive team? Nope, you guys are full? Okay, good. Okay, great. I think that is all we need to cover for tonight. So let's do a quick round of applause for everybody, and thank you to everyone on the team, all the great work that everyone has been doing. I appreciate you guys. It's super wonderful. Before we all go away, Cassidy, will you stay on for a moment for you and I to have a moment? So, okay, thank you guys. Great to be with you. Have a great night. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. Great job. Yay.